Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome, Cheap Shot Nation. I am your host Luke, and once again you are the Cheap Shot Nation. This is another retro review for Cheap Shot Entertainment, and we're looking at Backlash 2002. It took place on the 21st of April 2002, and it came from the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was in front of 12,489 ticket holders. It was also featured in the video games WWF Raw 2 on the Xbox and SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. I still have that advert echoing in my mind because I used to watch SmackDown on Sky One back in 2002, and that was the only show I could actually watch because we didn't pay for Sky Sports at the time. So yeah, we're following on from WrestleMania 18. We do have a Hulk Hogan match in this one because the fans embraced him again after coming back as part of the NWO. So they quickly turned him back to the yellow and red. Who is he going to face? Well, he's going for the WWF Championship against Triple H, who won the Undisputed Championship from Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 18. So if you want to find out what happened during the show, then go on to the network and watch it. Or if you have it on Blu-ray, then or DVD or videotape. I think videotapes were still a thing, VHS, back in 2002. Then, yeah, go and watch it. Let us know what you think of the show. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this one. It's been 20 years since this actual show happened, so I'm looking forward to doing that for you guys and giving you my thoughts. So we're going to go straight into the main part of the video, and we're going to start with the pre-show on Sunday Night Heat. Join me there. So we start off with the pre-show. It took place on Sunday Night Heat. Of course, this is not on the network version of Backlash, but it was a 2-on-1 handicap match as well as all the build-up between the Big Show, who defeated Steven Richards and Just Incredible in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Of course, all lots of wrestlers coming over from ECW and WCW in 2001, most of them being used a couple of times and then moving on, and then others obviously being used a little bit more. But yeah, Big Show goes over in this one, and we move on to the first match of the evening. So the first match is for the Cruiserweight Championship. It is Billy Kidman, the current Cruiserweight Champion as of 2002 Backlash, going against Tajiri with Tori Wilson. Now, in recent months before this pay-per-view, Tajiri had taken a change of heart with Tori Wilson. He'd been going out with her in kayfabe form for quite some time, and he's now decided that she is his property and covered her up in a kimono and things like that. He's gone a bit nuts. Yeah, Billy Kidman is, well, I mean, he's awesome, isn't he? An actual true life boyfriend of Tori Wilson at this point in time, I believe. So, yeah, interesting one this in terms of real and not real and all that kind of stuff, kayfabe and performances and things like that. But in terms of the match, as well as the storyline, in terms of the match was actually pretty darn awesome. It got a good 10 minutes. The crowd was really behind it. It was a really good opener. Probably one of the best openers I've seen on a pay-per-view for as long as I've been doing the retro reviews, and I started back in 2020 when lockdown was happening and things like that. So yeah, it was huge, absolutely huge. And yeah, really, really cool match. Back and forth. Tajiri was in control for most of this match, with Billy Kidman coming back just in time to try and hit a shooting star press and a power bomb, sort of like a sit-out power bomb thing. And Tajiri would counter the sit-out powerbomb from Billy Kidman and spray him with the red mist now, of course, because obviously Tajiri is now evil, so everything must be red. But, I love Tajiri, and I do like Billy Kidman as well, and Tori Wilson, wow. My crush for a long time in WWE, WWF, when she came over from WCW. But this match does showcase the talent that the WWF had picked up at the time in terms of WCW and ECW. Tajiri, ex-ECW, been on WWF television for quite some time. Billy Kidman coming over with a lot of fanfare from WCW. I think he went out as the Cruiserweight Tag Team Champion on the last episode of Nitro before, the acquisition from Vince McMahon, or Shane McMahon as it was, and only just started getting used. So it's a big nod to both these guys that they were given the top spot on this card. And say top spot, the first spot, someone's got to go on first, as I often say, but this match was awesome. Tajiri would win, obviously, with the red mist. Billy Kidman would not kick out of that. So, Tajiri wins. I actually quite liked the finish. I loved the match. I think it was really well paced. It was well done. Tajiri doing all of the things you'd expect a heel persona to do, and Billy Kidman really playing on the noise from the crowd. So, it was really good. I'm going to go out and I'm going to give this one a straight up 4 cheap shots out of 5. It was a fabulous match. And we move on now to a backstage segment with the Acolytes Protection Agency, where Farouk is meeting up with Bradshaw, and the NWO music starts playing because that is the match that is on next. It is Bradshaw versus Scott Hall of the NWO. So the next match, as I already announced, was Scott Hall versus Bradshaw. Of course, the APA not taking names and kicking ass anymore as a duo, because one was on SmackDown and one was on Raw. Incidentally, x-pac has now joined the ranks of the NWO since Hulk Hogan left. So he came down with Scott Hall wearing Kane's mask because the attack from the NWO on Kane meant that he could steal the mask before it got the hair attached to it, of course. This match, after a pretty wicked opener, Bradshaw tried to carry this match so hard, and he just couldn't make Scott Hall look good. It's really sad times at this point. You can really see that he's struggling with his substance abuse and things like that. But let's keep his memory good. This match was not great at all. So I'm gonna give it 1 cheap shot out of 5. The interference from x-pac clearly was there to try and get Hall to the end of the match, and Bradshaw was there as a safe worker to try and get him there as well. But the match finished with a distraction from x-pac, and whilst Bradshaw was looking down at x-pac after being rammed into the post by Farouk, he would succumb to a low blow and the worst looking roll-up I have seen for a very, very long time. But there you go. That is Bradshaw versus Scott Hall. We move on now. Vince McMahon trots into Ric Flair's office to give him an ultimatum about the last match, the undisputed title match, which Ric Flair is the referee. He is the special guest referee between Stone Cold and The Undertaker, the number one contenders match. Of course, no love lost for Stone Cold from Vince McMahon, and Ric Flair, of course, going against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, against the wishes of Vince McMahon being the co-owner of the WWF at this time. So, he's going in, so you've got to do the right thing. And it's absolutely crazy to think that Vince McMahon was actually wrestling on WrestleMania. Well, I'll use the term wrestling very loosely at this point in time in his lifespan. But yeah, he actually had a match at WrestleMania. We move on. So the next match is the WWF Women's Championship match. It is Jazz, the champion, going into Backlash 2002, going against Trish Stratus, who beat Molly Holly on the previous episode of Raw to win the chance to go for the championship. So she won a number one contenders match on Raw against Molly Holly. That would lead to the beginning of this match, where Molly Holly came out and said these fans don't want someone representing them who is a cheater, and then she gives her a cheap shot and throws her into the steel stairs. Doesn't take long then for Jazz to come out and attack Trish and continue the good one, to continue the beatdown that Molly Holly had started on Trish Stratus. But this match was actually really good. You could tell at this point that the ladies were getting trained up really well. When they were given chance, they used that chance really, really well. And these two ladies, obviously Jazz with a lot of experience inside the wrestling ring, and Trish Stratus just finding her feet. And both ladies did exactly what they needed to do. It was a short-ish match, but it worked so well. It was well structured in terms of the match, and Trish Stratus doing a great job of selling the back injury from the stairs, and then basically almost trying to hit a Stratusfaction from the ropes, the Bulldog headlock takeover, and or Bulldog headlock drop rather. And it was Jazz who countered that and playing on the back even more, going into a Boston Crab, which is then almost countered by Trish. She gets dragged back into the middle of the ring. Gets turned into an STF, and Trish eventually has to succumb to the pain because she taps out, and Jazz retains the championship. It was Jazz then that would not let go of the hold. Looks absolutely nasty. Really brought home the nastiness of the STF and how much damage it can do to someone if played rightly. The move rightly was made to look really, really strong. So Jazz leaves with the championship as she came in with the championship. I'm going to give this one 3 cheap shots out of 5. Really good women's wrestling match for 2002, and definitely one of the better ones. We roll on to the next match. So the next match is a lesson on how to create a monster. It is Brock Lesnar versus Jeff Hardy, who is fighting for the honour of his brother. He comes out with the lovely Lita highlights package of the storyline going into the match. Was played before the match, of course, and gives you a backstory of what happened. Brock Lesnar F5'd Matt Hardy on the rampway, on one of the shows, and Jeff Hardy is fighting for his honour, as I've already said. First thing I will say, and I haven't mentioned already, is how great the set looks on this one. They've got the big hooks and the swing from side to side. It's great. But this match was exactly what it needed to be. Jeff Hardy got a couple of hope spots in, and Brock Lesnar just made it a car crash. This is how you create a monster. This is how you save Brock Lesnar as a character. You've got Paul Heyman screaming all the way through the match. Very different character to what he is now, where he just stands at the side and just watches with glee on his face. This Paul Heyman, very much more vocal than we are used to in more recent times. But the match itself, I'm going to give a 3.5 cheap shots out of 5. The storyline was absolutely brilliantly done. The reasons for this very big mismatch between the two competitors was believable. And Jeff Hardy does get a bit of offense in here, even hitting the Swanton Bomb and throwing Lesnar into the post on the outside, reversing Brock Lesnar trying to throw Jeff Hardy into the post. Like I say, even hitting the hitting the Whisper in the Wind and then followed by the Swanton Bomb wasn't enough to stop this match from continuing on. So Jeff Hardy goes outside, desperately getting a chair. That gets taken off him in what can only be described as just pure power. Just picks him up off his feet. The chair goes down. F5. Looks like Jeff Hardy's face goes onto the chair. It's at this point that Paul Heyman says, "Don't pin him, snap him in half." So Brock Lesnar duly obliges. As JR has said, the glint in Brock Lesnar's eyes at this thought was quite entertaining. So we go for 2 power bombs in a row, non-release, and then a third power bomb with a spin in the middle to get even more momentum to finish Jeff Hardy off. It looks like a complete car crash, which Jeff Hardy is very used to. But yeah, I love this match. I think this match was absolutely awesome. Like I say, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, or 3.5 cheap shots out of 5, because it wasn't the perfect match, of course. I prefer more wrestling involved in it and more straightforward sort of back and forth, which we did get a little bit of. But this match was made to make Brock Lesnar look like a beast. And that is exactly what it did. Great match. We move on. So we're really getting into the meaty end of the pay-per-view now. It is Kurt Angle versus Edge. These two have had the on and off again feud, starting out as real friendship and then just attacking each other on every chance they had. This one, really, really good match. Really back and forth. Kurt Angle obviously concentrating on the back and the ankle of Edge, where Edge using his speed against Angle's technical prowess. It starts off quite slow with lots of rest holds. It really picks up towards the middle, and the finish is just really, really good. Really well worked as well. Angle goes for the chair, which is, Edge stops him with the chair. He ducks out of the way. Angle hits himself with the spot off the ropes where the chair bounces off the ropes and hits the antagonist. With this, in this case, it is Kurt Angle. He gets hit in the face with the chair. Edge then rallies up for the spear, which Kurt Angle counters with a massive boot to the face. Edge is really stunned at this point, having been put through several German suplexes, excellently executed German suplexes, I might add, as well. Really feeling the effects of those. Boot to the face. Angle rallies up for the angle slam, and the end comes with that, with Edge not being able to kick out of the angle slam for the second time. This match really, really good. I'm going to give this one 4 cheap shots out of 5. Fantastic match, and Kurt Angle takes home the victory. Everybody stands up. It's like it's the Olympic gold medal ceremony again. Everybody celebrating the greatness of Kurt Angle. Really good match. We move on. We next get a segment from Chris Jericho, who picks up the microphone after coming down to the ring, tells everybody that he is better than every one of the unwashed masses in Kansas City, even on his worst day. 30 days prior, and he makes a good point, he went into WrestleMania 18 as the champion, and he doesn't have a match on Backlash. What's up with that, as the Hurricane would say. He leaves without anything else happening, and we move on to the backstage segment with Ric Flair now wearing the referee's shirt, and the Undertaker coming in to visit him, saying he's a very, very good referee, and he hopes that he will make the right decisions during the match with Austin. We move on now to the match between Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental Championship. So the Intercontinental Championship match, which has already been introduced between Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam, otherwise known as RVD, ends, would you believe it, with a frog splash. But it's not from the Intercontinental Champion as you knew it going into this match, but by the new Intercontinental Championship, new Intercontinental Champion after the match, rather. It is Eddie Guerrero picking up the win over RVD after working the lower back of RVD, taking out the flying ability and the kicking ability from the mixed martial arts master. Rob Van Dam's flying around a little bit towards the start of the match, really on top of this one, but then Eddie Guerrero gets the upper hand, a really sick looking dragon sleeper with the legs locked in as well. But RVD manages to get out of that, and but the damage is done at that point, and Eddie Guerrero does eventually get the win with the frog splash because he's feeling froggy. And anybody who can wear a mullet like Eddie Guerrero wore a mullet back in 2002 deserves a very solid 3.5 cheap shots out of 5 for this one. Really good match. This is a very solid pay-per-view so far, and like I said before, we're going into the meat of this one. We're halfway through the pay-per-view. Let's continue. Let's see what will happen next. So we move on to the number 1 contenders match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker, with Ric Flair as the named special guest referee. This one had 3 very combustible elements in it, including Ric Flair, because he has history with both of these guys in the build-up to this match. But as you can expect, the match itself was hard-hitting. It went back and forth. There was a lot of mind games being played at the beginning of the match before anything even started. A lot of finger gestures from Stone Cold Steve Austin getting into the mind of The Undertaker. But it would take a chair shot from The Undertaker to Austin to get this one in the bag, because, you know, Austin was, and rightly so, is a fighter all the way, and wants to become the champion again, as he was in December of 2001. And obviously Undertaker wants to get back to that high spot as well. Well, like I say, it would be the referee being down, Stone Cold Steve Austin getting the stunner on the Undertaker, Ric Flair being down, like I say, in a ref bump, and not being able to count the pin, saving the Undertaker from losing the match, basically. Then a chair would become involved, at which point Ric Flair would wake up, and Undertaker gets the win after a choke slam. So yeah, there we have it. The Undertaker is the number one contender, but who is he going to be going against at the next pay-per-view in the US? Obviously, the next pay-per-view after this one is actually the UK pay-per-view. I believe it's Insurrection that usually comes in at the beginning of May. So, yeah, it's not going to be up for grabs there, but certainly at the following pay-per-view, there will be Undertaker versus whoever the champion is after the main event match of Backlash 2002. Is this match good? Yes, it's good. It's 4.5 cheap shots out of 5. Good. Even Ric Flair added the combustible elements here that made the match very, very interesting, as you can expect from The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Both of these guys knew exactly what they were doing. They've got great chemistry inside that ring. They've had many, many bouts and many, many battles over the years with different personas and different eras of time, especially during the Attitude Era. So, yeah, very good match. And obviously the first part of the almost a double main event, with the number one contenders match being decided and then the main event as well. The next match is for the WWF Tag Team Championships, and it is the defending champions Billy and Chuck with their stylist Rico and his massive sideburns versus the team of Al Snow and Maven, teacher and student. Who is going to come out on top of this one? Anyway, we get straight into the action when Billy and Chuck are already in the ring, and Maven and Al Snow make their way to the ring. They slide in, they get cheap-shotted, hey, by Billy and Chuck, and of course Rico as well. Get the upper hand early on, and Maven and Al Snow never really recover from that. The crowd is really behind this one because they've obviously seen Maven doing all the training and, you know, being tough enough basically to get through to the final stage and go for championships, already being the hardcore championship, having matches against The Undertaker, and now going for the tag team championship as well. And we're only in April 2001. Sorry, 2002, April 2002. Where am I? I'm not even in the right year. Anyway, so I would say this was back and forth, but it wasn't. There was a lot of interference from Rico, making himself well known to Maven and Al Snow, getting involved, hitting Chuck with a big kick that was intended for Maven. Maven hits the cross body as Al Snow chases Rico around the ring, and Rico escapes over the barricade. It is at this point that the referee, Nick Patrick, has got his back turned to the champions and Maven, and Chuck comes in with a big kick of his own, and Billy and Chuck retain their tag team championships, and Billy Gunn gets the pin on Maven. Al Snow comes in for the save, but he's too late, chases Chuck away over the ropes, and yeah, Billy Gunn left in the ring. Obviously, this one was the precursor to the main event, which was always going to be given a lot of time, including the promo package. Sadly, this one didn't get a lot of time, and it wasn't a bad match, but because it was so short, it wasn't really fully entertaining for me. But I mean, like I say, it wasn't a bad match. It did exactly what it needed to do with regard to bringing in Rico and telling the story of teacher and student going for a championship together. So with that, I'm going to give this one 2 cheap shots out of 5. It was perfectly serviceable. Do I think it should have been pre-main event? Probably not. Maybe a bit earlier in the card. But there you go. That is that. And we move on, I believe, to the main event now. So the final match of Backlash 2002 on April 21st, 2002 was for the WWF Undisputed Heavyweight Championship of the World. We have a new title belt, including both designs of the Winged Eagle and the big gold belt. It is a big gold belt, that's for sure. I did have a replica of this. Sadly, I had to sell it. The champion, Triple H, the first ever holder of that undisputed title, as it is in its form in this show anyway, versus the legend known as Hulk Hogan. So yes, we get a big promo package beforehand, and this one is being played really well, and it pretty much takes the storyline and pushes it through right to the end of the match. But the match starts off as you would expect, both guys feeling each other out and having the test of strength. One getting the better over the other, Hulk Hogan locking up with Triple H and overpowering him and doing all those kind of spots as well. It wouldn't be too long before Triple H started working on the braced knee of the master of Hulkamania and get him in a figure 4 leg lock, which he would hold on to for several minutes using the ropes, going back to his old dirty heel tactics, Triple H, for part of this, because he knew he had to wear down the Hulk Hogan with the power of the Hulkamaniacs behind him. So Hulk Hogan would come back, Triple H would then get back on top. It would be Chris Jericho that would come down and take out the referee. Hulk Hogan not having any of that and succumbing to a pedigree and kicking out of the pedigree, making it look very ordinary, actually, which I don't like about Hulk Hogan. But hey, he's always been one of my favourites right the way through. So it's one of his things that he does. Undertaker would then come down and attack Triple H and hit him in the head with a chair, causing the game to bleed, and going for Hulk Hogan, who he would drag over to Triple H for the attempted pin. Hulk Hogan was not having any of that. He hulked up against the man who took his title off him on his near debut at Survivor Series 1991, full 11 years. Yeah, 11 years from the date of this show and the rest. Actually, it's not quite 11 years, is it? It would be, no, it would be. Bit longer. Hey, never mind. I'm not going to try and work it out. Anyway, Hulk Hogan sends The Undertaker to the outside, does not want his help. However, he did use the time to hit the ultimate leg drop and pin Triple H for the win and his 6th World Championship in the WWF. So, as you would expect, this match was really good. Triple H offering the hand at the end when you thought he was going to attack Hulk Hogan for celebrating with his championship, having only held it for a month. Of course, it was The Undertaker that cost Triple H this championship, so no doubt that is going to play out. But Hulk Hogan is your new undisputed champion, and it would be, I believe, his last major championship in WWF in his current iteration anyway. So yeah, really decent match. It wasn't quite on par with some of the matches. I think that was down to the amount of time that Triple H and Hulk Hogan had to work together and selling. I mean, it was following Hulk Hogan Rock, Icon versus Icon, and it did its job in that respect in terms of sending Hulk Hogan over and getting him the championship. Of course, The Undertaker walking out with a wry smile on his face, and obviously not wanting Triple H to take away the championship because he has become the number one contender. With all the combustible elements, with all of the interference, it did kind of detract from the match. I'm going to give this one 3.5 cheap shots out of 5. I think given more time, this one could have really built up. Of course, Triple H has got lots of charisma, and so has Hulk Hogan, but it's hard to outdo The Rock in terms of charisma and mic work, but perfectly serviceable match. And a very, very enjoyable pay-per-view, Backlash 2002. It would lead to the Undertaker going for the championship at the next pay-per-view as well. And that would, it would lead to Undertaker's next major championship run, his first one for quite a long time actually. So it is, let me see, hold on a second, not Vengeance, we go into Judgment Day, but it's Insurrection first at the in the UK, May the 4th be with you. In the UK 2002, is Triple H and The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin takes on The Big Show with Ric Flair as the special outside referee. Booker T and Steven Richards go to war in a hardcore match for the Hardcore Championship, and amongst other things as well. So yeah, always the big shows, the Insurrection shows, the exclusive Sky box office shows. I always used to get these because they were live and the normal times for me in the UK. The following pay-per-view in the US would be May 19th. Let's not remember that date too much for other connotations that it may bring to mind. Kane. May 19th is Judgment Day 2002, including the very famous hair versus hair match between Edge and Kurt Angle, whose feud has been going for several months at this point in time. But yeah, very enjoyable pay-per-view, really, really good. Certainly one of the better after WrestleMania pay-per-views that I've seen. And very much recommended. If you've watched Backlash 2002 recently, let me know what you thought of Backlash 2002. And you are the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke, and I will see you next time for Insurrection on the 4th of May. Also my Tilly Dog's birthday, so we'll have a special announcement for that as well. I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Hiya.